Hey YouTube, what's up? It's Bobby, aka Paginator, and I haven't posted a video in a while. I am on the second to last day of spring break, and if you can't tell, my voice sounds a little bit funny, but I'm almost back to full voice. I have had strep throat, and I haven't been able to hardly speak for days and days, and I've been occupying my time taking medicine, taking naps, doing a bit of reading, although for a while I was so sick that I couldn't even read. Can you imagine? Like, for days I couldn't read. And I was in the middle of a JoJo Moyes book that was really good, and holy crap, I couldn't read it all. But anyway, all of that aside, I have been acquiring books because when I get sick, I often online shop, and then I go to bookstores. And I was in Utah for most of my spring break, and I just came home from Utah today in the rain, but it stopped at two bookstores. Well, one bookstore and one store that happens to sell books. And I haven't done a book haul in ages, so this is a book haul for springtime-ish that I've been acquiring books for a while for, so let's just get into it. Alright, the first book I'm going to show you I got on Amazon, and it's called Finding Fraser. I was on there poking around the Outlander-ish kind of stuff, and I had ordered some art prints, and specifically one of Jamie that's sitting on my entertainment center in my living room now. But I saw this book, and it said for fans of Outlander, and it has Fraser in the title. And so as I was looking at it, I thought, oh, I gotta have this book. It is so much fun. It's by Casey Dyer, and it's about a girl who has been in love with Jamie Fraser through the books forever, and she kind of on a whim, after losing her job, decides, you know what, I'm just gonna take all of my money and go to Scotland, and maybe I will find my very own Jamie Fraser, knowing that she's not going to find actual Jamie from the book there, because he is, of course, a fictional character, but maybe Scottish men are just better than American men, and so she goes to Scotland to find her Jamie, and madness ensues, and there's all kinds of crazy fun hijinks and things happening. So, super fun book. I did already read this, which is why I know so much about the plot, and I would highly recommend it for anyone who is a fan of Outlander. Up next, I have a few books, or a couple of books that I picked up on Barnes & Noble a few weeks ago. I was going down to visit a cousin of mine who is in a treatment facility recovering from drug addiction, and I was a little bit stressed about going to see her and not having some anxiety about what was going to happen there, and so I went to Barnes & Noble before I went to see her to calm myself down, and I ended up buying 3 books, and one of them I don't have with me because it's at one of my students has it. She checked it out for spring break, but that was Bells by Danielle Clayton, and it was fantastically wonderful, and perhaps I'll do a review of it another time. I'm not going to talk really about it right now because I don't have it here to hold up. But on that trip, I also bought To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, and this is a siren story about a girl who is kind of like the best siren around, but something goes wrong and she gets changed into a human, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe she just encounters a human. Yeah, she does get turned into a human. Anyway, it sounds pretty good. And then the third book I got on that trip to Barnes & Noble is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This book has been everywhere on BookTube and all over the blogs and everything, and I thought, oh, I have to get this. It sounds like so cool. It's a West African inspired story to do with magic and different things, and you know, it's a good sign when there's a map in the end papers. And I'm not going to talk about too much about each book individually because I have way too many books here, but Children of Blood and Bone. Alright, now I have to carefully set these down on the floor because I don't want to break spines or damage them in any way, so hang on just a second. I'll be leaning over from time to time in this video to set books down, just heads up, and there we go. Alright, so I've got another 3 books here that I went about a week and a half ago. A friend of mine and I went to the King's English in Salt Lake City, which is an independent bookstore I've talked about before on this channel. And we went to meet and hear Gail Forman. And this is her new book that we purchased. for the event, and so we were able to get our books there and get them signed by Miss Gail Forman herself. And she had a super fun signing. Ali Condi was there with her, as well as Sarah Czar, and they had just a kind of a fun conversation. They also made us sing. I couldn't really sing because my voice was 10 times worse than it is now, but I pretended to sing along, and there was just a fun time. They had a little readers theater thing, and super fun. And of course, being in my very favorite bookstore, I couldn't help but pick up a couple of books. So I got E.K. Johnson's That Inevitable Victorian Thing, which I started to read, but like started in the loosest sense of the word, like have read 2 pages of. So far, it sounds kind of science fiction-y, alternate worlds kind of thing, where you are genetically matched with someone based on your DNA. And Canada is where this takes place, and Queen Victoria is in this book, as well as some other fun things, but it's more a modern setting because what I've read so far is they've ridden on a subway and different things like that. So Queen Victoria, yes, but not her time period, if that makes sense. All right, and the other book I picked up at the King's English is Mapping the Bones by Jane Yolen, who wrote The Devil's Arithmetic almost 30 years ago. And I can remember in middle school reading The Devil's Arithmetic like so many times. I loved that book so much. And Jane Yolen hasn't written about the Holocaust since then until Mapping the Bones. So that is going to be kind of fun to read. If I had time, I'd go back and read The Devil's Arithmetic again. But I don't have time. And one of the other teachers in the building borrowed my copy, and she hasn't given it back yet. How long does it take to read The Devil's Arithmetic? Come on. Sorry, just kidding, Andrea. Okay. Then I went to a bookstore in Logan, which is where my family's from, at the book table, and I got 2 books there. I got a copy of Every Day by David Levithan, which I actually had a copy of this book before, and I got rid of it for some reason. I don't know why, without ever having read it. And I started reading this, and I am 82 pages in. So for those of you that know this book, A has met Rhiannon and has now experienced a couple of days in the bodies of different people. If you're not familiar with this book, this is about a soul named A who wakes up every day in a different body, and the body's usually about 17 years old, or the current age of this soul or whatever, but it might be male, it might be female, any culture, and this soul falls in love with a girl named Rhiannon and wants to be able to get back to her somehow, but in a different body every day, that's not going to really work, is it? As I continue to read, I will find out more. And it is going to be a movie, which partly inspired me to read it because I wanted to read it before I saw the movie, and partly it just seems like an interesting premise of a story. The other book that I picked up at the book table was The Empress by S.G. Kincaid, which is the sequel to The Diabolic. And The Diabolic, was it behind me? No, where is it? It's somewhere in this room. Oh, it's right back here. Right there. I don't have it at school because it's very, very violent, but then our school library ended up getting it, so I guess I can take it to school and let kids check it out if I want to. I kind of don't want to, though, because it's so pretty. Yeah, I'll leave it at home. Anyway, this is a sequel to The Diabolic. If you can't tell, my voice is already starting to sound scratchy, so I'm not going to take a whole lot of time to get into this story. I'm just going to encourage you to Google any books or look them up on Goodreads that you think sound interesting to you if I don't give you enough information, and I apologize. Hopefully you will forgive me due to the fact that I am still in recovery. All right, now that brings us to the still second stack of books, which I picked up today as I traveled through Utah to get back home here in Wyoming. And I went to Barnes & Noble, and a different one than I had went to before. It's kind of nice to go just to a different store for fun. And I got a paperback set of the Grisha verse books. I haven't ever read these. I read the Six of Crows duology, and I loved them. And I read Leigh Bardugo's Wonder Woman book, and I loved it. And so I thought, well, dummy, you should get these. And so I have Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising. And even though they're paperbacks, they're still really pretty. And so I'm super excited to have this lovely set and to learn more about the Grishaverse. All right, I also picked up a copy of Winter Song by S.J. Jones. They had the sequel there, but I held off on that one because it was hardback. And first, I don't know why I was being so fussy with my hardbacks at Barnes & Noble, because I bought hardbacks at the other store. Anyway, I was in a weird mood, and so I ended up just getting the first one, and if I really, really like it, which I suspect that I will, I can always order the second one online or go back to Utah and go to bookstores. Anyway, this is kind of a retelling of the Labyrinth movie, where a girl has to go and rescue a sibling from the Goblin King, and the Goblin King is in love with the main character. In the movie, I was introduced to the movie on my 16th birthday and this big surprise party that my friends planned for me, and they made breakfast for me, and we sat and watched Labyrinth and ate waffles, and it was just so much fun. So I have like an extra special place in my heart for anything Labyrinth related. So even if this is just kind of a loose retelling of that story, I think that I'm gonna really like it. Plus the cover's cool. It's like a rose in a snow globe. Anyway, the next book I got at Barnes & Noble was A Fire and Stars by Audrey Coldhurst. And I keep watching reviews. I watched Emma Book's review of this a couple of times, and I've watched other people talk about this. I think Zoe from Read by Zoe, I've watched her talk about this, and maybe a couple of other people. And it just sounds like such a wonderful book. And the relationship between the two characters, Denna and Mare, I think. Anyway, it just sounds so really wonderful and lots of feels, and so I picked this one up as well. I didn't get the new prequel that just came out because I've been told that they're very, very different, so I want to read this one again before deciding whether or not to get the prequel that just came out. I think Ink Mistress is the name. The next one I got is Queens of Fenburn by Kendara Blake. This is a bind-up of some novellas that go along with the Three Dark Crowns series. And the last book I got at Barnes & Noble is Defy the Worlds, which is the sequel to Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray. I got that in a subscription service. What one did it come in? I can't think right now. Uppercase. It came in uppercase. Anyway, that was the one time I tried uppercase, and they sent me Defy the Stars, and I loved it. It's a sci-fi novel, and I totally fell in love with the two characters. One is a human girl, and one is like a cyborg guy. And so this is the next book in that series. It's not as pretty as the original cover to Defy the Stars, but still, it works. All right, and then lastly, purely on impulse, I went to Target because I'm like, hey, Target usually has books on a discount, and I'm not ready to go home yet, and I need more book buying stuff to make me feel better. So I went to Target, and I bought a little Ravenclaw decal. I'm going to put this in my car window when my car dries off because it rained the entire day, and it's still raining outside. Anyway, Ravenclaw is my Harry Potter house, and yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I made an order on Book Depository too. When that comes, I'll try to remember to do a haul for that box or unboxing of that order because I'm super excited about that. So at Target, I picked up 4 books, and Target had all their books 20% off the cover price. They usually do. So that's a fun way to get books, and I love getting books from like bookstores, actual bookstores. But if you ever just feel like you want to buy more books, Target's a good place to go because they have good discounts. So I picked up The Traitor's Game by Jennifer A. Nielsen. I didn't super love the False Prince series that she wrote, but tons of my students have loved those books and friends and different things. And I thought, okay, I'm going to give this author another chance. Plus, this book is really pretty and has a sword on it. And it reminds me of Holly Black's new book, The Cruel Prince, which I totally and completely loved. So, complete impulse buy on that one. Gunslinger Girl is another one that I keep seeing and I keep almost grabbing, and then finally today I was like, you know what? I'm not going to find a better price for this book. I might as well get it. Look at this girl. I mean, she just looks like a total kick-butt protagonist kind of girl, and I love the Western stories. I think I kept resisting it because of this right here. James Patterson Presents. James Patterson is one of those authors who probably has other authors writing for him at this point because he churns out books so much. You're like, yeah, right, you didn't really write all of these things. But he does a lot to support teachers, and it's not like he wrote this book, right? It was written by Lindsay Ely, and I don't know why that was throwing me off, because James Patterson is a really nice man and he's a good writer, and yeah, why was I letting that get in the way of some good westerny Gunslinger Girl-ness? Serendipity Jones is the character. How could you not love that? Like, seriously. That's awesome. I'm just going to read the first sentence of the dust jacket to you. Serendipity Pitty Jones inherited two things from her mother, a pair of six-shooters and perfect aim. Heck yeah, that sounds like a good book. Holy cow, my stack is like as high as how high my legs are on the chair as I'm sitting, from the floor up to my legs. This is ridiculous. Okay, 2 more books. As You Wish. This is by Chelsea Sidoti, and I wasn't really originally drawn to this. I saw the cover and I'm like, okay, maybe. And then someone had turned around one of the other copies on the Target shelf to the back, and I was kind of reading that, and it says rules for wishing. Never let an outsider find out about wishing. Wishes that would impact the world are off limits. Do no harm. Murder equals no bueno. No time travel. No bringing back the dead. No wishing for more wishes. Never break the rules. There are always consequences. And just that little teaser on the back, without even reading the full dust jacket, like, I was like, heck yeah, I want to read that. All right, last book is another one that I keep seeing in lots of places, which is Stagg. And the tagline is One Deadly Weekend. And it's Stagg's, excuse me, with the S, Stagg's. I'm going to read the little bit on the back that's not very much. It says, it was nearly half-term when the envelope came. Of course, this being Stagg's, they didn't call it half-term. They called it justicium. I can't say words today, I'm sorry. The invitation was slid silently under the door. It was made of thick ivory paper folded over on 4 sides and sealed, I kid you not, with a blob of wax, the red of our school stockings. I broke the seal just like I'd seen in the movies. Inside was an embossed card. Hunting, shooting, fishing. You're invited to spend Justicium at Long Cross Hall, Cumberland. Coaches departing Stags at 5 p.m. Friday. RSVP. Intriguing. Do we have a And Then There Were None situation on our hands? Do you know that book, And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie? People mysteriously get invited to this place for a weekend, and they all get murdered one by one, and one of them's the killer, and they have no idea who. It's insane. Anyway, that's my gigantic stack book haul for spring break-ish time. Yeah, so if you saw any books there that looked interesting, feel free to look them up on Goodreads or Amazon or Google, wherever your favorite place to look at books is. I apologize I couldn't give you more information, but as you can tell, just talking about this stack of books has rendered my voice sounding very scratchy and tired, and I'm going to go take a nap now. Maybe if I wish very hard and believe in the power of magic, I can read through osmosis while I'm sleeping. Anyway, have a lovely and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.